We live in an age of counselors and mentors, not leaders. The difference between leaders and counselors is that leaders demand and expect discipline. Counselors and mentors may at best count on the willingness of others to listen and pay heed. And that willingness they must first earn by currying favor with their would-be listeners. We live in an individual world where folks understand they can do more to interact and act on their lives, and yet they are unwilling to take the steps needed to become the owners of their lives, to do the things they willfully wish to do and act on life in any meaningful way. You see, when Malcolm spoke, I listened in 57 or 63 because maybe I'd never heard a man talk like that. I mean, where did he get the gall and the audacity to live so free? He said he was doing something for my benefit, and I believed him. I believed him because maybe I knew I never could be that, say that, do that. I could never be that brash, that honest, that fearless, that brave, that supremely black, because my history had ingrained in me the impossibility of such a being. I never saw a black man like that. I never dreamed it to be possible. And Malcolm, you see, he embodied all that I thought lay dormant in me. And if only I had been given the education and the opportunity to expand on whatever possibility lay inside me, then maybe, there but for the grace of separate and unequal and racism and ignorance, I could have been him. But probably not. I mean, he was from some ungodly religion that black folk, good Christian folk, could never believe. Allah? There is but one God, and his son is Jesus and the Holy Ghost, right? And Malcolm, well, Malcolm, he was like Jesus, shouting from the mountaintop, bringing hope and truth to the multitude. And that parallel was enough for me. You see, this liquid, bondless, shapeless world of today is the sounding of individual needs, individual concerns on the public sphere. It's not Malcolm. It's not James Baldwin. It's Oprah and Deepak Chopra. Our private lives have invaded the space once reserved for public politics with a capital P. And I can understand why the private lives of folks was of little consequence back then, in the solid world, the old world of kings and warriors and leaders of men. You see, then we were separated, segregated, apartheid, disconnected, kept apart, denied, willfully, blatantly. And why am I going to think about your life if the system is set up for me not to? How can you think about mine if your daddy forbids you from coming over to see me? The folks who ran the world kept their secrets not because they didn't think we could handle the process, not like today, where everything is open, where you can find any bit of information about anything. Back then, they kept it because we didn't want to hear. We had no time to hear. Life was hard enough, and it still is, to wake up every day and eke out survival for you and yours. The soup line, the bread line, the job line on the side of the road waiting for the man to choose you. Why am I going to worry about union scale and workman's comp on the plant if all I want is a job to feed my family? And ain't it funny how we getting there now, back to that lowly life? And what became of the folks there? They rebelled, they woke up, they awakened their eyes, and they got what they needed from life. Leaders of that day demanded my vigilance, my discipline to find answers to the problem. They acted as two-way translators between individual good and the good of us all, between my private worries and the world's public issues. You see, King didn't preach about allaying my individual fears and concerns. He didn't say that you must find a way to deal with racism and poverty and the stresses it imposes on your right to live a decent life and find a way on your own. He said, we as a people are going to get to the promised land. We, a leader says we, a counselor, a mentor. Well, that person says you, or him, or her. Mandela said we. Biko said we. Lumumba said we. The men you were told to admire, the ones plastered on your classroom walls from 4th to 8th grade, they talked about we. And today's discourse on the nature of happiness is just a litany, a regurgitation, a dumbing down, a spreading out, a crying out of individual problems and how best to deal with them on your own, on his time, when she can. You see, the white mother comes on Oprah and talks at length about the problems she has with her growing daughter, her teenage son, and she lashes out, or he does drugs. They go out and sleep around, and presumably they're doing this with other like-minded, like-acting friends. And the counselor, the one sitting next to Oprah, she defines the problem. And once that problem is named, the white mother seems relieved there's a name and maybe a means to end the family's misery, to help her daughter or little boy. And the world listens. For that hour, 4 to 5, we listen. And the moms at home take mental notes about how to cope with the same issues for their daughters and their son. And the mother is in the studio. Well, she's going to get a whole year's family therapy courtesy of Oprah. And her family's going to cope, and they're going to move on. And for 1 hour, the world says, man, something good has happened. On these shows, they render the unspeakable speakable. The shameful, it becomes decent, and transform the ugly secret into a matter of pride. To an important degree, they are rites of exorcism, and very effective ones. Thanks to these shows and these counselors and these mentors, I may speak from now on openly about things which I thought, mistakenly as I see it now, were disgraceful and so bound to be kept secret and suffered in silence. And since my confession is no more secret, I need no longer feel ashamed or weary of being frowned upon, rebuked for impudence, and ostracized. Is that the world that we are? We just want a space to vent so that we don't feel alone? Where are the leaders championing us to do more? If the black boy played his part and followed the rules, there was the possibility, slight as it was, of him getting what was coming to him. Get educated, kowtow to the white man in public and laugh at his ignorance, his arrogance, his stupidity in private. Take stock of a life. Do for you and uplift your family, your lineage, your name, your neighborhood, those around you, because they should reap benefits from the life they should have been living had it not been for racism, for ignorance, for arrogance, for stupidity, for apartheid, for separateness, for separate and unequal, for all the things that you knew and you had to overcome. And now, living on heights upon which you could see the world for what it is and how you got to where you were, I assume, I have to believe that there must have been some sense of responsibility for you to uplift, to bring along, to give those below you what they were so denied, especially if you knew that they were just as capable. So don't wait for leaders. They have to be created now. We are at a point in history now where we need you. And it is your job, because you are highly capable, to become the leader you've been waiting for. There is no time for mentoring, for counseling. The time is nigh for leaders, because they have to be created now to deal with the issues now, to deal with the life you live now. And it's your job to become one.